Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we're going to have a look at 4 main considerations you should have a look at before making a purchase. As well, we're going to give away a free document that is our research based on medical and medical pricing, top up, group cover, deductible, all those several items and questions free for you at the very end of this video. So let's have a look. So in serving over 400 clients, I think generally there are still some misconceptions of medical and the industry and how claims work and how underwriting works. So I hope to clarify that in these few videos. But the first and foremost thing that needs to happen is you relatively need to be healthy to be able to apply for medical insurance. Just because you qualify and you're fit and you run every day, if you qualify for, let's say, a Class 1 aviation medical, you do ECGs every year or twice every 2 years. You do hearing tests, eye tests. Does not necessarily mean that you're covered for a full comprehensive medical in the industry. So that needs to you need to be aware of that. And generally there's always a clause in the application process which says, has any medical that you've applied for ever been declined, postponed, or modified in any way? And what that really means is, have you ever been declined medical? Number one. And we've had about maybe 5 or 6 applicants that have been declined. And primarily that's due to, psoriasis, skin cancers. If there's an ongoing cancer or a major treatment, obviously you can't apply for medical. For females, some of the female items that they've, discovered in terms of doing certain tests, certain pap smears, abnormal paps, things like that, that they've declined, or depending on the severity, maybe only a certain part of that is declined. So that leads into the second part, is that if it's been postponed or modified anyway. And the examples of that are, if you've had a shoulder reconstruction, 2 months before, the insurer may have a sort of a waiting time and will exclude that part of you or complications arising thereof for, let's say, a year. And then they'll insure you. Torn ACL, something like that, or knee reconstruction, something like that. And then the loading part, which is basically modified, being added extra premiums. You have conditions whereby, let's say you're a bodybuilder and your BMI is basically off the charts because you have way more muscle mass than your height. And so there might be a loading of 100% in one of my cases, one of my clients. Let's say you have a hepatitis B, okay? So if you're hepatitis B, generally it's a 25% loading on all premiums for the years thereafter. So that's generally a feel of the underwriting process. You're either declined, or you're offered a counter offer, or you're a clean case. So that's number one, something you need to look after. Okay, and the 4 main considerations you should definitely be having a look at before taking out medical are coverage, plan size, room type, and deductible. So let's have a look at coverage. So for coverage, generally it's divided into 3 groups. You have worldwide ex-US, and Asia. And worldwide is expensive because obviously it includes the US. The US is generally double the cost of a local plan in Asia. All right. Worldwide ex-US covers everywhere except the US. So places like the UK, South Africa, these places are covered as well. Asia recently also included Australia and New Zealand, and obviously the rest of Asia. And so for coverage, what you really need to have a look at is that this is for planned hospitalization or elective surgery, as we call it. So you go to the doctor says, hey, this procedure needs to be done in the next month or next week or next few days. You basically fly back, or if you're in your home place already that's under the geographical coverage location, then it's covered. You can go to a hospital in that coverage area. Otherwise, in terms of emergency, actually you're fully covered. Most of these are the same clauses for most of the plans that we see today. Emergency is always covered worldwide. Elective surgery needs to be within your geographical area. All right, so that is coverage. All right, consideration number 2 is plan size. There are first class, business class, and economy, for an analogy. And you may feel that you're used to or you require first class, but actually you might not. You might be okay with business or premium economy, if you will. And I think it boils down to where your geographical location is. And to be able to do that effectively, you actually need to know the cost of things. Rather than look at the plan and what it covers, actually look at the cost of surgeries. And actually, that's what we've done. That's what's in the document. Highlights it in summary. The document is free to download at the end of this video. And basically, we've took all that, and then we've also had a look at what are actually people claiming. Are they claiming exorbitant amounts? What is the claim size? What are people dying of? What are people claiming in terms of illnesses? What is the age group? And then you look at specifics such as cancer. Where are the machines that enable you to do proton therapy, pencil therapy, gamma knife? Are they in Hong Kong? Are they somewhere else in Asia, for example? Can I fly there to do it properly? Does the plan sort of cover all this? So I think plan size is important. Generally, you're looking at a cancer treatment of roughly 800 to 1 million Hong Kong. And that's just the start for the diagnosis and initial procedure, and then it just ramps up after that. So generally, if you have a cancer, you're not able to buy medical insurance anymore. And you can default to the public system, but then you might not be getting the best treatment. You might not be getting the second opinion services. You might have a fresh grad working on you. So private is, I think, still the way to go, but you need to know the prices. For example, cancer treatment in the US is much more expensive. You're probably looking at $1 million US by the time you check out. Centers such as Mayo are really expensive, the best in class in the world, basically. So you need to know, if certain treatments are more suited to your body, and obviously that would be determined by the doctor. But where are these machines? Are they in Singapore, Taiwan? Does Hong Kong have them? Which hospital? How much? Which room type, which we'll get into in a minute, also corresponds to the cost as well. So once you have all this sort of information, you can make an informed decision of actually how big do I need this plan. For example, a VHIS government-sponsored scheme, a government-regulated scheme, is roughly 8 million per year, no sublimits, and 45 million Hong Kong per policy, basically. And then that's sort of business class. First class, you're talking 100 million. So 100 million Hong Kong for the whole policy, and you're talking 60 to 80 million per year if needed. Okay, so it just depends. And so with the higher end medicals, you're looking at perhaps private room. Middle, you're sort of looking at semi-private room. But more importantly, you can have a lot of add-ons as well on these policies. So if you wanted to add outpatient, for example, outpatient is generally double the amount of the inpatient abroad. Okay, so we'll talk more about payment in a minute, but you want to consider if I want outpatient as well as the private room as well as the massive policy limit, or can I go on with a sort of a business class or premium economy product where I know the pricing, I can better price match what I'm going to get and afford sort of the running cost going forward. Because more importantly, you'll need to actually try to keep this medical for a long time. You can only be healthy when you buy it. If you decide to, move places and you needed to purchase a medical again, well, your underwriting, is done from like you were new at this new company. It's underwritten again, which means, you might not be at the same age. You might have a surgery here or there. Okay, so you need to be careful and not get caught out. So that's sort of plan size. All right, and next we're going to talk about room type. So we all know room types consist of private, semi-private, and general ward. Private is where you have your own dedicated washroom, your suite maybe, okay? Semi-private is a private or sharing room, usually 2 people or a single person room, but then the washroom is outside in the hall, okay? So it's a shared bath. And then the general ward is generally 6 to 8 people, depending on hospital. So what's applicable for the room type is that the cost of the surgery and all the items that are used in the surgery are commensurate with the room type you have, which means that the policy limit or the yearly limits burn faster or slower depending on the coverage, on the room type. And the fourth consideration is sort of payment and deductible. So if you have group cover, usually the group cover is good up to a certain amount. It might have itemized benefits, and then maybe a major medical supplement. Usually they do, all these traditional plans do. And then so because you have that smaller medical in front, then you can afford to use a deductible and cover the rest of it with a second medical policy, or what we call a top-up medical. If you don't have a group plan, then you probably have to start at zero, or a zero deductible plan. Or you may choose, maybe a small one, like a $16,000 deductible, because I always have $16,000 Hong Kong in my pocket if anything major happens, because I'm going to use $16,000 to claim $1 million coverage or something like that on a treatment, for example. So it depends on you, and usually you can, your advisor will be able to guide you through this process. But deductible is important because you need to sort of match the deductible with sort of the predictable limits of your group cover. So let's say in the case of an airline medical, we have sort of limits that we can see that are itemized, what they call itemized. So you have complex, major, intermediate, minor. You don't know how your diagnosis is classified. And this is actually important because limits are right there. For a complex, you might need a surgeon, which is $250 limit, anesthetist, which is $75, operating theater, which is $75, hospital fees on the top. And then there's a major medical supplement at the bottom as well. So with this, for example, this airline package might claim up to X amount of dollars, and then the rest is actually your cost, unless you have a separate medical you can claim from, or a top-up medical. All right, so that's planned elective surgery. What about emergency? So emergency, generally we're covered if we're on vacation, generally 60 days. Within 60 days on vacation, there's usually a travel insurance that you can claim from. And the travel insurance is going to be more than, let's say, the deductible amount of $50,000 Hong Kong. Like, that's very small and for very cheap. Okay, so let's say you and your family go on vacation and you get, a skiing accident, or you're hit by a bus. It's an emergency, you need to operate right away. And so generally you pay it all and you claim from the travel insurance agent, travel insurance plan, which let's call it 100,000. But, there's a shortfall of 100,000, on your bill. And so you would basically just take that 100,000 and claim from a medical plan that will cover you up to its limit as well. So there's a difference between who pays first in the emergency case and who pays in the elective surgery case. All right, so those are quite different. So depending on your plan, depending on the coverage, that needs to be addressed, and that should be a serious consideration, because the deductible will allow you to pay less money annually. And there are plans now, which I'll go into, for example, FWD's VHIS plans, flexible benefits, where you actually move that deductible around after the second year to better fit your needs. For example, let's say you're going to retire soon, and you won't have that big group medical benefit anymore. And so you can actually move this deductible, obviously pay more annually, but have better coverage each year so that it will catch better. You just pay $16,000 as a deductible and you get, $300,000 worth of claim or something like that. So it's basically, it can be moved around. So those are some of the features of a deductible. And I hope that's sort of clear enough to allow you to understand the concept of a deductible. So my last thoughts on finding a product that fits. Obviously, we want everything. We want outpatient, we want dental, we want the best coverage. But if you're buying for yourself, or as you're a little bit older, or if you're buying for a family of 4, actually the prices rack up quite a bit, and there's no retention really, because it's just term insurance. You pay for the year ahead, you pay for the year ahead. And so what I kind of look at is, in terms of outpatient, Do you really need to go, you're allocated 10 times if you pay a certain price a year, right? So you're going to want to go 10 times to get medicine, or, a little bit wrong with you. You want to have the doctor to have a look at you just to make sure you're getting your money's worth because you've already paid for it. My argument is that actually, if you go as needed, you actually don't need to pay for an extra outpatient that's going to cost double the amount every year, times number of family members. Generally, with outpatient, you need to go to their panel or registered outpatient doctors. The other one, and a specialist as well. So you need to go to the outpatient doctors and specialists. And I think that sometimes we have our own doctors that we want to go to, or it's actually cheaper if you pay as you go. If you just need meds, self-diagnosis apps, there's a lot of common knowledge these days which you can quickly obtain online and sort of buy medication. But if you needed a doctor to have a look at you, a GP, and maybe a specialist, if that leads into a surgery or inpatient, generally those sessions are also covered in the inpatient. Okay, such as a group medical, they have these clauses. So you need to look for that as well. So it's not like money wasted and then you go to the GP and SP for the surgery. Before you go into surgery, you're going to have to see a doctor first, right? So generally that is covered. Those 1 or 2 sessions are covered, and 6 follow-up sessions are covered after the surgery. So my personal thoughts on outpatient is that it's actually, if you have a group medical, that's great because you have an X amount of dollars a year that you can spend. But to buy additional outpatient or, physio and things like that, I think generally it's quite costly, is what I'm trying to say. All right, so that's my thoughts on outpatient. I think there's also alternatives like, Chinese medicine, alternative holistics type of solutions that may or may not be covered by outpatient panel anyway. All right, so those are my thoughts. So in terms of purchasing a medical, I think it's actually important that you understand a little bit, very briefly, on how premiums work. We've seen many companies actually increase their premiums. And simply, this is because their pool of money that they've collected for that specific product, because many people are claiming, let's say the deductible is very low, or many people are claiming, for example, they don't have enough reserve to pay out if there's subsequent claims. So then insurance companies actually increase their premium because of this to everybody. So you need to kind of go with a provider or an insurer that has not increased their premiums for, let's say, 5 years at least. So then you have some sort of predictability of what you're going to be paying according to the premium table that you're given with the brochure for the subsequent years. All right, so that's number 1. And number 2, I think you need to have maybe sort of independent ranking. And there's a source called 10Life in Hong Kong. I'm sure there's other similars around the world, but 10life.com in Hong Kong, links in the description below, is actually very, very good because it's an independent ranker of these insurers and this level of product. There's different levels and they rank each, and if they score 10 out of 10, doesn't matter where they are on there, it's a good product. And then there's companies that actually give promotions for the 3 months. There's 50% off or 5 months off or something like that. So those are the considerations I would have a look at in its entirety before you purchase medical. So I think actually more important than the product itself, because all the products are very, very competitive anyway. I think what's actually more important is actually the team serving you. So they're sort of like the bridge between you and the insurer. So instead of calling for hotlines, you call let's say in my case, the secretary, and we are able to serve our clients very efficiently, pass them claim forms, emails with procedures, so it's clearly laid out what would happen and how to help them, obviously. And I think this is actually more important than the product itself going forward. Because once you're in, and switching providers is actually quite difficult because you need to be healthy, and you might get decline, and there's certain periods where you're not insured, so there's time gaps and things like that. You need a team that provides sort of like a concierge service and has actually experience in claims. So more on that in a video later on. So that's it for this video. I hope that you got a lot of value out of it, and thank you for watching until the very end. If you like the content, please give us a like and a subscribe. We're creating additional videos for specific products, which I'll go through in detail on the computer and show my analysis and my understanding of all the different clauses. So we'll do a bit of a deep dive into those products, and as well have a look at some of the claims that we've been doing so you can get a feel of how the claim situation works. I think it's quite generic, but how we see it on the back end as agents. A plug obviously is that I'm an agent for FWD at the moment. I work with them, so I'm able to show some of their stuff. We serve over 350 foreign clients, and through the distillation of everything, this is the best product and it is the cheapest for what we were trying to achieve. So I decided to basically step up to the game and serve everybody and hire a secretary and all that, and have everything nice and organized for everybody going forward. And we've already had 5 claims in process, 2 pending, 3 successful, and so we'll update you with that in another video as well. So that's it, and thank you for listening once again, and hope to see you in the next one.